What 30-year campers do differently is not buy their way out of a bad night. They make a few plain decisions before the tent comes out, and one of them happens the next morning, before the trouble has a chance to follow them. Pick the wrong low patch, and rain can flood the floor, soak the bag, and pull heat out of you through wet ground. Pitch under a dead limb, and calm weather does not make it harmless. Most people answer that with a tougher tent or a warmer bag. Those things cannot undo a poor sight. After a lifetime in tents, starting with my dad and later with my sons, I have learned cold nights collect the bill for daylight choices. So read the ground, trees, and wind first. Before unloading, walk the site. A beginner sees a flat patch and a view. I look for drainage, cold air pooling, overhead hazards, and wind. Rain can pool under a tent, flood the floor, soak the sleeping bag and insulated clothes, and pull heat into cold, wet ground. Pass up hollows, runoff paths, and water's edge. Stay about 200 feet back from water where that guidance applies, and choose slightly raised, well-drained ground. Dead or weakened branches and whole trees can fail suddenly in wind, heavy snow, or saturated soil, dropping enough mass to crush someone. Scan above the tent's fall zone. Standing dead trees, cracked limbs, and leaning trunks mean move camp. A scan reduces risk, but even healthy-looking trees can fail in extreme wind or saturated soil. Use a healthy live canopy only when it is clear overhead. A tree stand or small hill can shelter the tent, and its strongest pole structure should face the prevailing wind. But high ground is not universal. Flash flood terrain, desert washes, avalanche paths, or exposed country require maps and local knowledge. I only camp in summer. Fine. Warm nights reduce the cold concern, but drainage, damp air, and bad trees remain. I will walk past a better view for better ground. Once the site passes the ground, tree, and wind check, the next job is getting the shelter up before fading light turns a good decision into a rushed pitch. The tent is the first job, every time. Before supper, before a fire, before you sit down and admire the view. A cold sandwich is not a tragedy. Looking for the right pole while rain starts and daylight disappears is a poor way to begin a night outside. Set that tent up at home once before the trip. Find the vents, the door opening, the fly clips, and which end has the stronger pole structure for wind. Then, when you arrive, get the shelter standing while your gear is still dry and you still have enough light to fix a bad corner or move the whole tent. High humidity and poor ventilation can leave condensation dripping onto a down bag. Wet down loses loft as the clusters collapse, and the bag can lose many degrees of usable warmth. So keep a gap between the inner tent and the fly. Tension the fly, but do not pull that first corner so hard it presses against the inner. Open the vents and part of the door as conditions allow. Do not seal the fly hem tight to the ground. A small gap lets damp air out. And no, rental gear is not an excuse. You still choose the site, tension the fly, keep the walls apart, and use the vents. You cannot prevent all condensation when the air reaches its dew point. Wipe the inside when you can, dry gear when conditions allow, and keep that moisture away from the bag. A well-pitched tent only slows moisture down. The next question is where damp socks, gloves, rain gear, and the sleeping system are allowed to live. A well-pitched tent only slows moisture down. The next question is where the damp things live. Beginners bring wet gloves, socks, and rain gear inside, lay the sleeping bag out early, then empty the pack looking for a headlamp after dark. Wet clothing evaporates into that small tent, raises humidity, and puts more moisture on the walls and near the bag. Do not use a stove or open flame to dry gear near tent fabric or inside a vestibule. Fire and carbon monoxide buildup can kill you. Hang damp gear under a tarp, on a gear tree, or around camp when practical. In steady rain, accept limited damp gear inside if you must, but keep it away from the sleep system. Careful vestibule cooking with an integrated canister stove needs ample ventilation and clear space from anything flammable. Give the important things fixed homes: light, first aid, compass, fire kit, knife, snacks. Same pocket or small sack every trip. Line the pack with a trash bag or liner, roll dry gear closed inside it, and keep the wet tent and fly outside against the pack wall. Your sleeping bag is sacred. It is the last dry room in camp. Put it in its own dry bag inside the liner. Do not sit on it, cook on it, or pile wet clothes on it. A liner only protects what is inside. Outside pocket electronics and first aid need their own dry bag or hard case. Car campers can use bins, fine, but dry camp clothes, lights, first aid, and the bag still need fixed protected homes. Keeping the bag dry is not enough if you arrive at it sweaty, underfed, dehydrated, and already losing heat during camp chores. You can carry a warm bag and still arrive at it cold. That is what people miss. They hike in a heavy jacket because it feels pleasant, sweat into the base layer, then stop moving to pitch or cook. Wet fabric starts pulling heat away when the wind finds it. Sweat is stored weather. It waits until you stop working to make its point. Use a wicking base layer, an insulating middle layer, and a shell. Take insulation off early when you begin climbing. Put it back on early when you stop. I start a little cool when I'm moving. Not everybody should. Circulation problems, some medical conditions, low body fat, and your own metabolism can call for a warmer baseline. Cold also makes thirst a liar. You are still losing fluid through breathing, sweat, urination, and shivering, and lower fluid volume weakens circulation and temperature control. For healthy people in cold conditions, 2 to 3 liters a day is a starting point, not a rule for people with kidney, heart, metabolic conditions, or unusually hard exertion. Drink and eat by the clock. Small snacks and a warm drink beat waiting for one big dinner when you are already chilled. If hard shivering starts, or you are stumbling, mumbling, fumbling with simple gear, or acting unlike yourself, change layers, get shelter, eat, and drink something warm. Do not walk it off, and these routines only work if you have left yourself time to use them. Morning packing, weather, and the choice to turn back are where that margin gets protected. The final habit is leaving yourself options. If nobody knows your route and expected return time, a small mistake that leads to injury or hypothermia can go unsupported much longer, especially in shoulder season when daylight is short and facilities may be closed. Before you leave, tell someone where you are going and when you expect to be back. Check the weather, study the route, and look for local hazards. And do not turn high ground into a rule you follow with your eyes shut. In flash flood terrain, desert washes, avalanche paths, or exposed country, a higher patch can be the wrong place. Maps and local knowledge still matter. In the morning, use the same order every time. Seal the sleeping bag and dry clothes in their dry bag and pack liner first. Then keep the damp tent and fly outside that protected dry load where they can be taken out and dried when the sun appears. A liner protects what is inside it. Electronics or first aid in an outside pocket still need their own small dry bag or hard case. I know new campers hear this as instinct, something that takes decades. It does not. Inspect the site, pitch early, fix the homes of your important gear, and keep enough daylight to change the plan. The older I get, the less interested I am in proving I can endure a bad decision. Turning back is not failure. Pitching in the wrong place because you refuse to turn back is. The next problem is the camp advice that sounds tough and gets people in trouble when they are cold, wet, lost, or under pressure. Watch 5 survival myths that can get you killed. Camping and sort out what fails when it matters. Keep your dry bag dry. Walk away from a bad place.